Hey, it says we're live. Well, let's run this first.
5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Thunderbirds are go.
Hey, everybody, we're all gonna get laid.
And I just lost the other one I was going to kick off with, but it's all right. Hey, everybody, come on in. We see you out there. We see you out there. The chat is open. We expect you to comment. Come on in. It's another episode of the ZimmCast for the 29th. The 29th of June. June is almost done.
Can't believe it.
We got to bring Joe in. Joe's in the chat already. Good evening, Joe. Hope you're doing well. From the desk of a small press publisher. Joe, you want a link? You can come on in. We're just going to talk comics, funny books. I got some news off of some of the news sites. HR's in the house. Hey, Ragin 2. Hey, Joe. Joe says, hey, Nita. She doesn't say hello to me, but good evening, everybody. Let's bring Christie in. She just popped into the green room. Hey, Christie, how are you?
She is.
I got foods, so I'm a little bit late due to that. I made dumplings.
Oh, cool. There we go.
Yeah. So I'm just kind of like sitting here watching, and I said, I'll just have to spend another quiet time at home. But I finished the first leg of my shipping, so.
Awesome.
Yeah.
Let's introduce ourselves. Hey, everybody. I'm your host, Randy Zimmerman. I'm a longtime alternative and independent comics publisher, producer, whatever. I've done just about everything, if not everything in this business that you can imagine, and have done it for many years. I love podcasting, and I'm here Wednesday nights, and I also do the Sunday Funnies on Sunday morning, where we talk about the more positive and passionate side of this business we call funny books and comics. But tonight, we're going to talk about some news. We're going to talk about some opinions. We're just going to talk. And here to do that with us is tonight's co-host, Mr. Mitch Rogers. Mitch, introduce yourself.
I am Mitch Rogers. I've been a independent creator, writer, and artist since 2008. And I'm mainly known for the Boger horror comic book series and a few other things.
HR, Nita says, hi, Randy. No, not tonight. Anyway. Hello, Nita. Hope you're doing well. I imagine you're having computer problems, or C would be with us tonight. Either that or he's trying to track down that rodent throughout the house.
I'm sure he's trying to track down one of their fucking kids and hose them off or some shit.
That could be it, too.
Yes.
I got the book, Christie. We'll show it on my show on Saturday.
Nice.
And Joe says, hey, Mitch.
Hey, Joe.
Hey, Mitch.
Hey, Joe.
Hope you're doing all right,
Joe.
Also joining us tonight is our special guest, Christie Shinn. Christie, introduce yourself.
Hi, I am the creator of Demon Bitch. I just finished a fucking Kickstarter for Triggered. And this has been going out to all the backers. Right now, if you have ordered stuff with enamel pins in it, I have not shipped that out yet because I should be getting those tomorrow. But I have to do some family time, so that might be a few days to a week before I get to it. Because what I like to do is I like to examine and count stuff. But if you have this or anything but the purse charm or the prints that are there on my desk, and or the patch and the sticker. And as a thank you to some of the people that had me on their show, I just went ahead and did an extra print, a high quality print. So there you go, right here.
Sweet.
The patch, and then this is the sticker right here.
Oh, awesome.
So so I'm waiting on the pins. This was all done by a company called Alchemy Merch. Greg is awesome, and the prices are really good. And this is the charm right there.
Hang on. Let me
got
blow that up. Boom.
Protective film on the front and back, so you can kind of tell.
Cool.
Excellent. You can also order them. I have plenty more online. Just that I would have to fulfill the Kickstarter, but the only things that are left are essentially the ones that need to have the enamel pins in it. But that will be sent out sometime next week once I come back.
Cool.
Very pleased about that.
And if you were betting on the line tonight and hoping that Scott Rosemo would show up, he gave me a thumbs up, but he has not shown up yet.
Oh, there you go.
You are losing as we speak. The same thing with a number of people. I've got a lot of people promised for next week. Just nobody wanted to come today. So.
Well, there you go.
They
So
found
yeah,
out I was going to be on.
it's kind of
Is
funny
that what
because
it
I
is?
did oh, sorry.
No.
Mitch said it was because they found out he was going to be on.
Oh, that's awful. I don't think you smell or anything.
I don't think that's what it is.
Not like anybody could see that. But so I think what's actually kind of funny is that when I started getting more, because some people bought all the books. Like what I do is I have like kind of the world book end. So it's like Triggered, but then it's also got Triggered and then the rest of the Demon Bitch books plus the Personal Monsters book, because the Personal Monsters is kind of the pre-world sort of build. Mm-hmm. I didn't plan it that way, but it ended up happening. And a lot of people requested that. So when I did it, it was like literally an inch and a half thick of books. And when I wrapped it up and bagged and boarded them, and I didn't realize it when I got black poly bags, and I didn't think about it because that wasn't intentional. I just got it for a good price. And then I was like, oh, this kind of looks like the old style porn shit you would get. Like they'd wrap it up in a black envelope.
Oh, the old style porn shit used to be wrapped in a brown, almost paper bag type material.
So that's
or so I've been told.
Yeah, because I haven't gotten that personally, but if they wanted stuff like, I know back in the day when Madonna had erotica, it was wrapped in like a black plastic thing. So if anything had sexually explicit or nude material, they would wrap it. And I like looked at that, and that's why I put it up online. Actually, ironically, it was one of the backers, James, I think. He was really cool. I hope he doesn't mind me using his name. But James, I took a picture of it and I sent it to him. Sans his address, obviously. And I said, hey, look, it looks like porn fucking mail, dude. And he was laughing. He said, is that mine? I said, yeah. So he's like, so it's all being sent. So it should be in everybody's now, with the exception of international, it might be about a week and a half for people in the domestic United States. That's what it seems like. But some people have been reporting that they already got theirs, and those are the single manila envelope ones. Hi, Miss Rena.
Miss Rena in the house. Says hello. Hello, everybody. Speaking of porn or obscenities, Oni Press and Mela Kobabe are being sued for obscenity in Virginia.
Oh, God.
From Virginian politicians. Isn't that great? Every once in a while you see these obscenity suits will spring up because somebody's idea of a funny book is, you made these for kids. And that's not necessarily the audience that it's aimed for, but I'm not sure who Oni was promoting it to. But lawsuits filed last month in Virginian courts by a few lawyers who we don't have to name on behalf of himself and the Republican congressional candidate Tommy Altman, who lost the recent primary for Congress, citing an obscenity law from the state. It says whenever he has a reasonable cause to believe that any person is engaged in the sale of commercial distribution of any obscene book, any citizen or the attorney of the Commonwealth of any county or city attorney in which the sale or commercial distribution of such book occurs may institute a proceeding in the circuit court, a said city or county, for adjudication of the obscenity of the book, of adjudication.
What the
they
hell?
Can't decide if it's they can't decide if it's obscene or not.
But what
The suits allege the graphic novel Gender Queer, written by Maya Kobabe. I'm probably massacring that name, and I'm very sorry if I am. Drawn by Phoebe Kobabe. I probably have that last name wrong, and I apologize for that. And published by Lionforge Oni Press, as well as the novel A Court of Mist and Fury by Sarah J. Maas, are obscene for restricted viewing by minors. The statute states that upon the filing of a petition, blah, blah, legalese. Anyway, and this month, the retired Pittsburgh area Judge Pamela Baskerville found there was probable cause for the obscenity claims, which allows the book's authors and publishers to defend the work within 21 days. The judgment would depend upon the following. Isn't that weird? Now they're looking at books to see comics, to see if they're obscene.
Yeah.
That's nothing.
I
really
think I
new.
know. Oh, I'm sorry. What was that?
Go ahead.
No, I just said there's nothing really new about it. Go on. I'm sorry, Mitch.
No,
Yeah,
there isn't. But this suit is new within a couple of weeks or last month or whatever. This is what they use to judge the book. They use the artistic, literary, medical, scientific, cultural, and educational values, if any, of the book are considered as a whole. This is the degree of public acceptance of the book or books of similar character within the county or city in which the proceedings are brought. This is the intent of the author and publisher of the book, the reputation of the author and publisher, the advertising, promotion, other circumstances relating to the sale of the book, and the nature of classes of persons, including scholars, scientists, and physicians, for whom the book may not have pertinent appeal and who may be subject to exception pursuant to whatever subsection G is.
I think I know what this is about.
Go ahead.
Genderqueer was that book that they found out was in a bunch of elementary and middle schools.
Oh,
That
okay.
showed it was about a kid's sort of coming of age as a non-binary or queer person, and it had one kid putting on a strap on and another kid sucking him off.
Oh,
And that and that was put in like elementary schools and middle schools.
And that reminds me, before we go any further, let us run our warning label here.
Warning. The following program is rated TVMA DLSV and is intended for mature audiences. Expect adult expletives, adult situations, and video clips of people you might find offensive. The opinions expressed in this podcast are entirely the responsibility of the person speaking or typing, and in no way meant to reflect the opinions of the Ragin 2 Podcast Network. No children, small pets, floppy titties, or Russian bots were harmed bringing this podcast to you. Thank you, and have a nice day.
Just in case anybody is questioning the level of content here, we do have a TVMA DLSV up in the corner there, just to let you know.
Well, I think it's kind of funny because, like, as I said, these were not visual books when I was a kid. When I was reading, like, Flowers in the Attic by V.C. Andrews. So if you're not familiar with V.C. Andrews, she would write stuff for young adult, and there was romance, right? And there was sex in it, I remember. But what was always weird is that she was always writing about some incest of some fucking sort, whether it be consensual or not. And even me in junior high was reading this shit. I'm like, why the fuck am I reading this? Why is this here? So questionable literature has been that. But as a graphic novel, I am not. And again, I'm not saying that this is appropriate or not for children. But in the context of at least junior high schools and high schools, always have pushed the envelope, which is kind of decent or not, which I've always found interesting. Because I mean, I wouldn't let my kid read fucking Flowers in the Attic because that shit is like, what is this? And I read that stuff when I was in junior high school, and even I was like going, what is all this shit? Like, what is this about her uncle trying to have sex with her and shit? Like that was just so weird to me. Yeah. And of course we learned about molestation and all that during that time, even when we were children, because stranger danger, and then that kind of layered on till like junior high and high school shit. So you just had to learn about it. And I don't know. I mean, for me, I'm all for freedom of expression, but when it comes to minors and all that, that's, you think it's clear cut, but sometimes the line has been really kind of wobbly. And again, I'm not advocating sexualizing minors or underage individuals. I think that's really kind of fucked up personally.
Yes.
But it's just weird. Like they're having an issue with this now, but it has been an issue for some time. And I remember back in the day, like I read Mouse, and that was a scholastic thing. And now, like, I guess in one Tennessee school, they banned it, which I found kind of funny because I was like going, no, this is about the Holocaust. It's a comic book, but what I've read about the Holocaust is in that book, Mouse. It's actually very well done.
Right.
Shows the ugliness of that time, but it's not like so explicit and over the top that, you can't digest it as like a middle schooler or high schooler.
Yeah.
But as I said, when I looked at this shit, it's like, from my own experiences of stuff like that, I think that, they think like, oh, it's for the children. It's for the children. It's like, I agree. We should not sexualize minors in any sort of way, or children. But if you're introducing books like Flowers in the Attic too, you got to look at that as well.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. Yeah. I mean, that seems to be the norm now, is trying to introduce kids into sex at like kindergarten.
Yeah.
And that's where I draw the line. Like, with this, I'm not, certain if that's what the other cases around, but if it is, go after whoever put that book in the libraries and not the people who did the book. Because there's no
sorry
evidence.
For the overbearing ads that keep popping up, folks. We are, I got this article from Bleeding Cool, and you know how bombastic they are with advertisements. So I'm trying to keep them at bay as we discuss this, so you don't have to so that we're not advertising any of their products. But even on this book, it's not new. The court cases on it, so it must be a pretty controversial work. So while lawyers have argued the books do not come close to obscenity as set out above, those acting on behalf of the defendants and book-selling chain Barnes & Nobles have responded, stating that the suits as filed are defective and the remedy sought is unconstitutional, cited by Publishers Weekly, who says the petition and show cause order are facially defective because Virginia Code does not authorize a court to declare that the book is obscene for unrestricted viewing by minors. Oni Press has returned a statement saying the statute permits the challenge of a book on the grounds that it is obscene to the entirety of the community of the Commonwealth. Petitioner here attempts to define whatever the code number is to have the book declared as obscene as it relates to one subset of the community, minors in the Hampton Roads and Virginia Beach areas.
So Joe had an interesting question that novels like Beloved and Color Purple are okay despite the rape in it, but a book like Genderqueer is obscene. Why is there such a double standard of what can be offensive in education? Well, I think there's two major different things. They're novels, so they don't have pictorial elements that show the action. So I think that's why people are kind of really triggered by that. But number two, Genderqueer is a comic. It's a graphic novel. So they're showing the stuff happening. Mm-hmm. And again, we can debate whether or not that's better or not. But I think that's why people are more angry about Genderqueer than they are about Beloved. It's like, well, Beloved doesn't show the rape. You just got to read it. It doesn't show it pictorially, even though it could be equally as disturbing. Same thing with Color Purple, but it's like, it's sort of the weird thing of like, you don't look at it as a picture unless it's a comic book or a graphic novel. And
quite frankly, the Flowers in the Attic and the other prose books are books that you have to read. And that's not there. There's so many of those books that have been out there that have been in the public school system for years, and nobody complains about, because that means the parents would actually have to read. And here with this is a graphic novel where somebody, all they have to do is leave it open in their bedroom and have a mom walk in and take a look at it and freak. And that is probably part of what happened here. Somebody actually looked at the wrong page out of context by somebody they consider to be too young and lost it.
Yeah, I think that's how
instead of actually sitting there and reading the book and putting it in the context that it was meant, to be in. But that's, that doesn't necessarily apply to young kids. So,
well, I mean, for me, it would be different between it being in high school, in middle school, and elementary school. Because those are two different environments. Because in high school, you're learning about, health and, the body, and you're going through puberty. So for, just just my own opinion, that kind of material, if you insist on having it, would better suit that age demographic than little kids.
Right. Oh, obviously, yes,
Yeah.
of course.
Yeah. Just in case anyone out there is thinking that I have the problem with the queer part of it. No, it's the sex part.
Well, that's obviously what they're trying to label as obscene. It's the sex part of it.
Well, and also how is it advertised? I mean, I don't think Oni misadvertised what it is. Pretty much. I mean, genderqueer is like.
Oni probably didn't advertise it at all. They just put it in
Probably
previews and stuck it out. Yeah, or put it on their listing for the Barnes and Nobles and that all of these other folks have and again, you're dealing with a mindset here that goes back to the 50s. They open that book up, see it's a funny book, see it's got comic pages in it, and they put it in the comic book section.
Yeah, I mean that's the thing. It's like that should have been on the school to vet it for children or vet it for their age group. And
At
when
least in the young adult section or in the adult literature section, I don't know. Every chain, every store has their own different rules and different subcategories.
Well, I mean, we can compare it to Netflix because it's like when they did the cuties thing, how it looked like it was advertised. It's like, oh, it's girls like dancing in this sort of,
right. Yep.
drill, what is it? Drill team sort of thing.
Mm-hmm.
It turned out to be completely different than it was advertised, and people were really disgusted about that. And I understand that. Now, I think that probably Netflix would have gotten less shit if they actually advertised it for what it is and just say, okay, well, this is about this,
And would they have gotten more shit out of it if they had animated it?
Yeah. I mean, that's the thing that kind of bugs me about this bullshit, because it's like, you need to say it what it is.
Mm-hmm.
Like, there's plenty of very fucked up movies regarding children or, minors or young adults. I mean, look at Kids that came out. That was pretty fucked up, but it kind of showed an element of stuff in growing up that wasn't pleasant. But the thing is that I don't think the guy got in so much trouble because it was advertised for what it was. It, like the darker side of childhood kind of thing, coming of age. So that's that. To me, subject wise is worse than what could be in this graphic novel. Yeah, and I said, and as I said, I'm not.
Go ahead.
Oh,
go
sorry.
Ahead. No, I'm sorry. Go ahead. Finish your thought.
So, Joe, it's like, no, I've read some of those books. I've read Color Purple and all that, and I agree with it. They're pretty graphic in terms of storyline, and I'm not saying that you're wrong. It's just weird because it's sort of like, because it is pictorially done, I think it has more of a shock for people. I'm not justifying the suit, but I think like when people see it, image representation of it, people get more like, oh, it's more it is.
And again, you have that mindset out there still, especially I would say anybody that's in their mid 40s and older, of what a comic book is, and not what a graphic novel is, or what or the fact that it's sequential art. They don't realize, some of them have no idea that this sequential art is now taught as a course in college. Most colleges have a sequential art course on how to do comics.
Yeah. And it's like, is it really due to the visuals or due to it not wanting to educate young adult before it's time? I honestly think it's just the visuals. Because if those other books were able to go underneath the radar and not get complained about, it's because it's a novel. Because like, I can read a bunch of words and gloss over them. People can argue that about pictures. But if you have something like this, that'll hit you more instantly, because they say the picture's worth 1,000 words. So my argument is that I think because it's a comic, and not because it's in the genre of comics, but just seeing that imagery, they're like, oh, fuck. But if it was actually a written novel, that would have been able to pass under the bar, because it takes time to sit and actually read words. I mean, that's been my instance in it. So, I mean, as I said, I don't know if it's just educating people. I think it's just on the simple fact of people just like taking in the information, and unfortunately pictorial stuff is more instantaneous than words. Again, people can disagree with me that or not, but I think that's the reason why Oni is probably getting shit for it. Even though I think personally the school board should have been more careful in vetting it. Yeah. Personally, I don't think
the way it looks in the article is that the school board might not have even have had anything to do with it. These kids might have picked it up at a Barnes and Noble.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know. Like, that's the thing. It's like, I would have to read the whole statute, but if it's just like, okay, I picked this up from school. Well, I would say that they would probably have to sue the school if they'd have to sue anybody at all. I wouldn't sue Oni Press for putting the book out because freedom of speech. I mean, and this.
Yeah, yeah, they're not the ones shoving it in kids' faces.
Well, we're at an era now where everything, all of the amendments are being questioned, and people's rights are being questioned as well. So it doesn't surprise me that a controversial book, especially visually explicit, gets questioned for obscenity laws in modern times.
And
Even if Randy's right about the kid picking it up in a Barnes and Noble, well, that's the parents' fault. If you don't want your kids reading that,
And
keep
even
an eye
then,
on what they're doing.
even that's not necessarily so. A kid could have bought it at Barnes and Noble, passed it off to their buddies to read, and the buddy's parent sees it and goes crazy about it.
Well, I mean, Joe, I understand what you're getting at, but people can read the whole book for context.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, I do agree that most people don't really look at shit in context, honestly. And I mean, as I said, I think it's just much more simpler. Like, oh, well, it's just in a novel. It's got words. I need time to read. Whereas graphic novel, yes, you need the time to read and digest, but the pictures are more burned into your brain.
There's a big difference between a parent sitting down and reading a passage from a book, than it is to quickly see a visual, like you were saying earlier, too.
Yeah, I mean, as I said, I don't think Joe's completely wrong on that. I just think that personally, I mean, as I said, I think it just could be simple of visual versus image-wise and all that, and it gets annoying.
Go ahead. Sorry.
Sorry.
Do you think a publisher has a responsibility to label that book?
The thing is that I think because there's a certain thing, like if it's young adult or whatever, right? Mm-hmm. Young adult or whatever. Yes, they should classify the book. They should give an overall term of it. But to be honest, I think it's really up to the individual to look at it and to assess it for itself. I mean, it really, because as I said, I went back to Netflix and Cuties, right?
Mm-hmm.
Most people wouldn't have been mad. I mean, because there's movies like Kids, which show the dark side of childhood growing up, and unfortunately, that's part of it. Get down there, it's annoying me. But personally, for me, Cuties was misrepresented. Like they said, well, this is like the dark part of growing up and sexuality and all that. But no, they kind of did it as like, oh, it's this drill team thing, and that's what pissed people off. But the thing is, I don't think Oni Press deliberately, advertised it. I wouldn't think so, because at least from my experience in comics, they would have to give like a short summary about what it is, which if you're having the book genderqueer, you kind of can infer. And number two, it's a coming of age story. So you know that there's some of those elements involved. So I don't think that they were at fault here, because from what I understand of comics, that they have the short thing, and then they have to classify as MA or whatever, and stuff like The Walking Dead. You can kind of infer that, oh yeah, it's about zombies and it's about not very good people. So there you go.
Yeah.
I think Randy, when he was reading the article, hit the nail on the head when the article said that the representative or whoever was bringing the lawsuit lost an election.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, there's that.
That could figure into it as well. Absolutely.
Yeah, trying to be the moral crusader going after that obscene material because he's eyeing an election for the next cycle.
That cycle's at least 2 years away, maybe 4.
I mean, I think that might have been, as I said, disingenuously for to win an election. I would not say that's what happened, but I would just not be surprised.
Right.
I mean, unfortunately, that can happen with anyone. And of course, them doing that fucking old obscenity shit. I mean, we look at Mike Diana and how he was demonized, and he was told literally, you cannot draw for a few years.
Right.
And this was shit that you really had to look for to order it.
Mm-hmm.
It wasn't like in a bookstore where most kids could pick it up and say, oh, I just found this on the bookshelf.
Right. Give me just a second here. I just remembered to switch over to my my Facebook. We've got a link going on there, and I have it set to friends, and I need to set it to public. There we go. And there hasn't been anybody comment yet, but soon. Folks, the chat's still open. Joe says, I think it's the latter because you have to explain instantly what the visual is in its proper context and the reasons it can happen. And most people don't care about context in most things, not anymore.
Oh, no, they don't.
No, they absolutely don't.
I mean, I think it's a combination of stuff. I mean, pretty much. I mean, that's the thing.
Ragin 2 says, as with everything, parental discretion is advised. If you aren't checking out what your children are reading, watching, playing at home, you failed as a parent.
Yeah.
And we're not sure how this was called, whoever filed the petition's attention, but they could have walked into a Barnes & Noble and opened the book up and thought it was obscene for all we know. But more than likely, it's usually an angry mob that springs up. Your piss poor parenting shouldn't hinder my rights. No,
Exactly.
Not in an ideal world, but it does. And that's where most of these books end up getting banned in libraries and in schools, and that is because a parent, and most of the time that parent takes the phrase, the prose, the picture, or whatever out of context. And it's just looking at it for what it is and gets bent out of shape instead of trying to educate themselves as to what the work is about.
In my high school library, we had the Satanic Bible. That was pretty fun.
That was awesome. That's awesome.
I looked at that. What the fuck? So, I mean, we also had the Book of Mormon and shit in there, too. So, I think one time I found, like, ones of, like, post-mortem dissections. But I think someone got that from a different library, the regular library. Mm-hmm. And they were laughing about it. So, I asked, like, the librarian about it. And she's like, no, why would we have that? And she started kind of calling me, like, how fucked up I was. I'm like, Jesus, all I asked is, like, do you have anything about post-mortem dissections? That's all I said. I didn't say, do you have anything about cutting up dead people? Because I want to look at that and laugh.
I was the chaperone for the child's forensic class. We got to go see a couple of autopsies done.
Oh, that's nuts.
That was
a
very
child
interesting.
Forensic class?
Mm-hmm. She was in high school at the time. And there was we have what around here, what we used to call a skill center. They call it something else, more like a technical occupational center or whatever. And she was taking a course in forensics. And I said, any field trips that you have, I'm here. I want to go because I want to learn with you with all of this stuff. We went to another county. It's the county that does all of the autopsies in the surrounding counties. Apparently at the time, there was only one place they had that done. They pulled everybody into a room and told them that their life was about to change. You're going to watch 3 different autopsies. All 3 of them are going to be done in different fashions. All 3 of them are, and then they read off the subjects and who they were. And one of them was from the Flint area. And it was a kid that ended up being shot. And they said, if you go to this particular high school, you are not allowed to see this because you probably have seen this kid walk in the hall and in the halls of your school. And they said flat out, you're not going to be the same after you see this because nobody is. And we were up on an observation deck. We were removed from it. So it was almost the same as watching a movie. But they told us flat out, if you were on the floor and you were watching within a distance of this procedure actually going on, half of you would drop from the smell.
They probably didn't do the heavy ass decomp shit either because you have to have a special suit for that shit.
One guy was 2 weeks ripe, and he was bloated. But yeah, he had a not quite a hazmat suit, but pretty close. He was head to toe, actually shoulder to foot, in a suit when he did it. But that person you could tell was overripe. And one they did a full chest removal, one they did a Y front cut, and 2 of them I believe they examined the brain and they took samples. And that was very educational. But the guy was right because you never forget it once you see it. And he was there. The doctor was there explaining everything, and he'd take an organ out, and he had this fantastic long blade that he would take a thin slice of whatever organ he needed for a sample and put it in a bag, labeled it, send it off to the lab for testing. But that thing in the high school is different from when most of us went through it. But it was a real interesting course.
Yeah.
So
I wish they had that in my high school.
I didn't have
That's-
that.
we went to a gun range. We did crime
Oh,
scene
awesome.
investigation. It wasn't a real crime scene though, but crime scene investigation, all sorts of stuff like that. It was really educational. But I did it because I wanted to see it done and research for if I ever get a chance to write that kind of stuff, I'd know what it was about. So
Yeah. I mean, that's the thing. It's like, it's interesting because my school didn't have that. I think the closest one is that if it was high risk kids, if they had drug or alcohol problems, they would take them there and just show them what a fucking autopsy was and show them like, yeah, this could be you.
Yeah.
And that's pretty much what I got from people.
well, the center was kind of a technical skills center that I went through it when I was in high school for commercial art, and they taught me all of the material you needed to use in order to do ads or any type of commercial work that were all replaced by computers, like within a decade of after I graduated the course. But in the meantime, I was a master of ruby lith and amberlith thanks to that course, doing technical separations, color separations, mechanically instead of now it's 3 clicks in Photoshop or Illustrator, and you got whatever you need.
Yeah.
But,
I mean, it's been an interesting thing personally.
the commercial arts course that I took is no longer in existence. That's been replaced by graphic arts because everybody uses graphic computers now. So, teach every kid how to use Photoshop as opposed to proper composition for ads or anything like that.
I remember learning logo. That was fucking funny because I just would take the turtle and I'd make it go super let's make it go 357,000 fucking times across the screen and see if we could paint it all solid.
Yeah.
That's why I actually like better technological shit and higher things in technology, because we could actually do stuff and not look like we were dicking around. It's more straightforward.
Sure.
Here in Greenville, we had something similar to that called a career center.
Mm-hmm.
But it was just like the basics, they had like a mechanics one.
Yeah, there's mechanics, there's construction, there's graphic arts, there's even culinary courses that they teach. They're trying to prep kids here in Flint. Not everybody goes to college. Not everybody anywhere really goes to college anymore because most of college is so expensive. You really, if you're not taking out loans and getting over your head in student debt, then you have a rich parent or a full ride scholarship. So, if either that or you're out there trying to learn another skill, plumbing or electrical or any of the skill trades. That's why they have the construction classes. Yeah. They'll go out and they'll build a house. They'll go out to a site and work on not a modular home. That's what they call it. Well, I think they'll go through all the different stages of a modular build.
Well, that's good that they're actually trying to teach people practical stuff, or at least there's a practical end to it. Because I think everybody's justifiably pissed about student loan debt and things like that, they want to see if the investment is wise, and I can understand that.
Well, we were also a hardcore shop town, even though there's only a couple of automotive shops left here. But just about everybody's parents, not everybody's, but let's say a large majority of the population never went to college. They learned whatever skill they needed to learn while they were working at a factory plant.
Yeah.
So that just passes down to the kids, unless, like I said, the parents are rich, they get a full ride scholarship, but they go over their ass in debt. But anyway, that has nothing to do with funny books. Some of these the sequential art courses aren't until you get at least into the community college age, and even then some of that curriculum I think is kind of questionable. So
yeah, definitely. I mean, there's the Kubert School, which I've heard is really good. So I think
really
good trade school.
Really good, very expensive, but really good.
A lot of great people came from there.
Actually, get a job.
A lot of great people taught there. Just
masters
at work.
Yeah. No, it's just funny. I'm looking at speaking of some accomplishments. I'm looking at some of the people posting, and they saying they're already receiving the graphic novels that I put out.
Cool.
So, and also an update on the graphic novel. I am still waiting on the hardcover. That should be coming this Friday too. So when I get a chance to come back and vet the product and then send it out, we're good.
Go
Yeah, but
ship it out. Yep.
well, yeah. I mean, I shipped out a huge chunk, as I said, like with the stuff with the prints, with the patch and the sticker, and the charms and the graphic novel in paperback form. That has all been gone out, and that is all very successful. But the other stuff, you know, yeah.
All right. In other news, hey, Bob JPEG got his contract renewed for 3 more years.
Who?
Bob JPEG working at Disney.
Oh, cool.
Yeah. Yeah. Not good for the stockholders. They were too happy about it. So, and we just lost a couple of listeners. Hey, everybody, hit that like button. If you're over on Ragin 2, hit that subscribe button. Love to have you there. Tell your friends. Let's go and get the bad news out of the way first, shall we? R.I.P.
Ooh.
Mike Pasulo. Let's just call him Mike. Mike worked at Marvel. Let me flip back over here. Here we go. Creators and co-workers alike. This is from ICV2, which is a great site if you want to know about the industry. ICV2.com. They were originally the guys who did Capital City Distributors way back when. And they still do this insider site with stuff going on in comics, mostly games and other things that comic shop retailers might be interested in. Creators and co-workers alike took to social media to celebrate the life and mourn the passing of longtime Marvel marketing director Mike Pasulo, who died at age 50. Marvel announced the news on their website on social media on June 22nd. Mike worked for the company for 25 years and his most recent post was Senior Vice President of Marvel Television, Entertainment, Marketing, and Publicity. Mike was truly a long life Marvelite. Marvel President Dan Buckley said in a statement on the Marvel website, his marketing savvy, commitment, creativity, humor, and kindness were on display every day for friends and fans alike. He understood that for any fan, each convention might be their only one, and he personally laid the foundation to make sure they walked away not just happy, but elated. Marvel EIC CB Cebulski offered a more personal remembrance. Also on the Marvel site, sometimes you meet someone and immediately know you'll be friends for life, which is what happened the day Mike burst into mine. From our shared love of Marvel Comics, 80s metal bands, and Philly cheesesteaks, we just clicked. While Mike always preferred to work more behind the scenes, Marvel would not be what it is today without him. His legacy will carry on forever, and for those of us who knew him best, Mike will always live in our hearts. Wearing his Penn State hat, rooting for the Eagles, and trying to convince us Poison was the greatest band of all time.
That's funny.
We all have our guilty pleasures. More tributes poured in on social media, always considerate and just a damn good guy all around. Dan Panosian tweeted in response to Marvel's announcement, a voice of reason and humor, there to have your back when you needed it. Just an all-around great guy and a long-time person behind the scenes at Marvel. So Marvel is moving on. And a lot of these guys are moving on as well. So you need to appreciate these creators that Marvel hasn't used in a while, the ones that are still around, your Simonsons, you never know. This has been a really rough year already for comics, even on the, especially on the art side with Tim Sale and Neil Adams and George Perez passing. The behind the scenes guys never get any attention and appreciation. And Mike had been with the company for 25 years, so he's seen a lot of change. He's seen a lot of stuff going on. Probably come in about 98, 90, 97, just as things were heating up in the comic market. And he's watched things evolve into what they are today. Dead silence. Thank you. Pregnant pauses. Always works. It's all good.
Yeah, I'm just wondering what
It was a moment of silence.
Moment of silence for Mike. There we go. Go ahead,
what he
Christie.
passed from?
Pardon?
Did they
Didn't say. Didn't say. Just say he had passed. We're seeing that more and more lately too. I never really saw any firm details on how Tim Sale passed.
Yeah.
I heard
he
it
had
was
gone.
kidney failure.
Oh.
I had gathered from the way that some of the articles were written that it might have been a little bit more tragic than that, but he might have had a hand in his own demise. But I don't know. I haven't seen it.
Or something, or. And again, I'm not. It's just usually when they say stuff like that, or if it's that sudden, usually it's a stroke or heart attack or something like that.
That could be too. Sure.
And again, I don't know. I mean,
No, I don't know either. I honestly don't. I just know that he was a great talent and that he'll definitely be missed.
yeah.
Just like Neil Adams, and who really made a mark on the industry, just like
Yeah.
George Perez, who made a huge difference as far as and everybody's got their favorite Neil Adams or their favorite George Perez, even their favorite Tim Sale work.
Mhm.
So
Here it is. New York Times. Tim Sale, comic book artist who reimagined Batman, dies in '66. The second paragraph down, his death in the hospital was caused by kidney failure.
there you go.
Said
Okay.
Richard Starkings, a Fred and colleague.
Yeah.
Oh, that's sad. Kidney
That
failure,
is sad.
not a
Yep.
joke.
No, not at all. That wasn't
My uncle
aggravated
died
by
from that.
that wasn't aggravated by COVID. Just a kidney
It didn't
failure. So to
say.
say.
I mean,
Well, they would have if it was. I would
Yeah.
imagine.
Yeah. I'm just kind of like, it's kind of weird too, because it's sort of like when you've kind of been through something personally in a way, it sort of like hits you. And I'm not trying to put the thing on me. I'm pretty sure you've ran into that, Randy and Mitch, like about health things. Like for me, I think most notably was George Perez. And again, I'm not trying to make it about me, but it was just weird because like when they said he had pancreatic cancer that was inoperable and it was terminal. And if people don't know, I had a pancreatic tumor and it was 6 inches. And long and short of it, if you get a pancreatic tumor, it's like 93, 95 to the 3 to 5% or 6 to 5% that it isn't. So it is to it isn't. So you're in the mid to high 90s if it's found that it is like advanced.
Terminal. Yeah.
Well, I wouldn't say terminal. Some people
Pretty
say,
high on the stage scale. Is that what you're saying?
I would say like third or fourth stage.
3 or 4. Yeah.
But like the other percentage is like, oh, it's precancerous.
Mhm.
So it just kind of every time I see somebody that does have pancreatic cancer in an advanced stage, it kind of screws with my head a little bit because it's like, wow, I could have gone the other way, and there was more of a chance to have that happen.
Sure.
So again, I'm not trying to take away the attention from George Perez. It's just kind of like whenever I hear stuff like that, it sort of messes with my head a little bit too.
Mhm.
It's like, I mean, I feel bad for him. I mean, I will say this personally. When somebody even is very ill, I try not to lose hope for them because I'm still around, and I've seen people rally like you wouldn't believe.
Right.
I've been personally kind of part of that where they told me I was going to be diabetic.
Yeah.
And for some reason I'm not. So things can happen that are good. It's just I always like to hold out hope for the person until they're gone.
Yeah.
A majority of the time. So.
And even before the announcement of his illness, George was having problems with his eyesight. He had already gone into a kind of retirement.
Yeah.
Where he was only doing a certain number of drawings for conventions, but he was doing as many conventions as he could.
Yeah.
Because he knew his time. He knew his time was limited. I mean, he didn't have that prognosis yet, but he knew that his sight was only going to last for so much longer.
Yeah, I mean, I can't help but to think like, and again, I'm not saying it's anybody's fault, but what I have found is he, not he, but from my own personal experience, when I had asked my surgeon about how people find out, well, first of all, it kind of starts off like, oh, they got GERD, GERD, or some stuff, or like a full stomach, or something is wrong, like the sour stomach, like really small things. Their stool is weird or something. But they said over a period of time, as the cancer invades the other organs, then that's when you start losing weight and like your eyes look yellow, especially with pancreatic stuff because it invades the
Right.
liver and
Sure.
compromises it. So I wonder if, and again, I'm not blaming anybody here. George Perez's diabetes was sort of like a precursor to the cancer, because whether or not it's because a lot of the tumors happen in the head of the pancreas. That's what I found out in my experience. And that's where a lot of the Isle of Langerhorns that make the insulin are.
Right.
And to take out a lot of the head, I kind of wonder if that was the thing, because how they found it was that he had a blocked liver duct or something. And that's how they found the cancer, from what I understand, from what I read. So it's just like, sometimes I just want to say to people, like, look, if you're having stomach issues or digestive issues, please get an ultrasound. That's how they found my tumor. And get an MRI with contrast. And again, I'm advocating this with everybody, because it's like, don't think the digestive issues you have are small. They could be indicators of something big. So past a week, go get your ultrasound. Go get that. Because I lived with that fucking thing for probably about 10 years, because mine was a slow growing one.
Yeah.
And they found it by ultrasound and MRI. So I don't know. I know this turned into kind of a health PSA, but I'm telling people, like, you know, I don't care if it runs in your family or not. If you're having digestive issues, do get it checked out that way. Just ask your healthcare practitioner, because for the longest time they thought I just was gaining weight and was pre-diabetic and all this stuff, and I had to lose weight the traditional way, and that was a doctor checking me and all this other shit. But when I finally went to the emergency room, because I was getting ill too, I was getting colds and flus and all this other stuff. So if anybody mentions anything about their in their stomach area or their digestive system being compromised and they're going through illness, I highly recommend getting an ultrasound and an MRI, because usually it's the pancreas throwing everything off. Because that's how it was with me. I like literally was getting colds and flus like every 2 weeks, which was very unusual. And I was getting weak. It would just fluctuate throughout the day. Like I'm getting really tired, and then I'd be okay, and then tired, and then, you know, there would be some mood swings in between, and I didn't know why. So guys, just don't write it off. I know this was a weird PSA, but just
should never slough off any symptom, especially
no,
especially any pain. Don't just go in and get a pill. Go in and have it looked at.
Yeah, like I would say, if it's about a week, then it's a serious thing.
Right.
If
it's not going away, you need to find out why. Yeah,
like, I mean, for my stuff, because the tumor got so big, if I ate up past a certain amount, I would want to throw up.
Ooh.
Because it just couldn't hold anymore. So yet I wasn't losing weight. So I'm just saying to people, like, you know, probably go get yourself scanned if you're having issues in that area. I think you're going to save a lot of people a lot of heartache if you do that, and they're two very simple scans.
Right.
So I'm thinking about it, and it's just like how certain things or tragic deaths could have been passed if people just knew what to do. Like, you know, we had Grant Imahara pass away of an aneurysm. I had a cousin that almost died of one. How her symptoms, they caught it just in time. And what it was is that she had these really excruciating headaches. It's not just migraines. I'm not down talking migraines. But if you have an unexplained headache and it is just excruciating and you're losing a sense of mobility and slurring your voice, get the fuck to the emergency room.
Right.
It's not a stroke, you get an aneurysm.
Right. And to swing this back to comics, because we are a comic podcast, please. Working in comics is not advantageous to your health for the most part, because us writers, us artists, people that are working in this field, most of the time we're sitting in a chair, we're looking at a computer screen, or we're sitting at a drawing board and drawing, or well, pretty much nobody uses a typewriter anymore, and I almost went there. But if you're sitting for most of your career, if you're sitting and being idle, you really need to get up and move. You need to go out. You need to take care of yourself. You need to take care of your health, because it is a long race. You need your exercise. If I didn't have my wife pushing me up away from the computer screen and going out for walks, I wouldn't have been in the shape I was in order to handle the condition that I ended up meeting a couple of months ago when I was down on the respirator with COVID. I'm very fortunate and lucky to be alive. And a lot of that is due to the fact that I was I'm way morbidly obese, but I was in pretty good shape for the shape I was in.
Yeah.
So I know I freaked all the doctors out and half the nursing staff. And anyway, I'm finding out more and more how much a pain I was in the hospital that I just don't remember. So.
Well, I will say this, now looking back at it, you can have a dark sense of humor. Like you could have risen up bed like that, and they would have
Right.
just like, fuck. I mean, I was making constant jokes about what the fuck happened because it helped me deal with all this shit, like how they had to rewire my internals and everything. So,
well, the thing that threw me before I got out of the hospital, I had the doctor come up and tell me that I died a couple times, and then before I left the nursing home, I had the physical therapist come up and tell me how fast I had gotten through the therapy as quick as I did, because when I got there, they weren't sure if I was ever going to walk again. And that just threw me for a loop. I went, really? Because I always knew I was going to walk again. I could wiggle my toes. I just need to wake the muscles up in my legs and get them moving. So, yeah.
So, Randy, you and I can go to death like.
Yeah, pretty much.
Like that.
Do it every day already.
Yeah. That's what you have to do, right?
Right.
And it also kind of gives you a bigger ball sack in a way, if I may use that term in general, because it's like sometimes some things come at you and you're just, fuck you, I almost died, whatever. Fuck
whenever it comes to that problem, we always refer back to Dave, because Dave knows why.
Why? Because fuck them, that's why.
That was my big motto when I was in the hospital. So I thank Dave for that. All right, everybody, if we move on to other news, other comic news. I got nothing. No. Let's see what this is. People on the news. People on the move. Let's do that one. People on the move. Again, from ICV2. People on the move. Let me blow this up so we don't have to take a look at these crazy ads here again. People on the move. Chip Mosher to leave Comixology.
That's still a thing?
That what?
Weird.
Comixology still a thing?
Yeah, I guess. Hey, Chip and Chip was the head guy of it. Chip Mosher announced he's leaving his position as head of content at the digital comics platform Comixology, which was acquired by Amazon in 2014. Anyway, see Amazon acquiring Comixology. Yeah, of course. Mosher joined the company in 2011 as VP of Public Relations, Marketing, and Business Development, coming from Boom Studios, where he was Marketing and Sales Director. Mm-hmm. During his tenure at Comixology, Mosher spearheaded the Comixology Originals program. Did you know Comixology had an Originals program? Mitch?
I'm trying to remember.
Okay.
Because I completely forgot about Comixology until just now when you popped this article up.
Because about 6 months ago, they went through and they changed their rules, right? Amazon took them over in 2014, took them a couple of years or more to realize what was going on, and then they knocked the Comixology into their regular, Kindle program? Something like that, right? In a tweet announcing he was leaving, Mosher said, after 11 years, I decided it's time for a change. And this will be my last week at Comixology. It's been an amazing decade plus for me, and I'm grateful to have been able to be part of the company's growth. And he added, in particular, it's been an honor pioneering the Comixology Originals program, because everybody's heard of it. On Twitter,
I don't know a single book on it.
On Twitter, Comixology wished Mosher luck and announced that with this change comes new opportunities for others. Maybe they won't know what the Comixology Originals program is either. And we're pleased to share that Bryce Gold, who has played a key role in CO for the past year, will lead the Comixology Originals program. Gold has been at Comixology for over 6 years and is currently the program manager for Comixology Originals. Of course he is. Meanwhile, former Comixology CEO David Steinberger dropped a hint as to what he is doing. Have you ever gotten that promotion you always wanted and then realized, wait a minute, this isn't really what I wanted? That's like that scene out of Airplane, isn't it?
Yeah.
You ever heard, you like stories about gladiators? He tweeted last week, well, that happened to me. So I wanted everyone to know that I've left Amazon to get back to my entrepreneurial roots more soon. That sounds like
DC Comics was dropped from San Diego Comic-Con.
sounds like Joe.
I heard that. Yeah.
See, no, this is what
Last
it
March, Steinberger announced he was leaving his position as CEO of Comixology to take on a new role with Amazon. Yay. Anyway.
Well,
What were you saying?
that's not surprising because they took out Comixology entirely because Kindle was already there, so it's sort of redundant. I hate to say, but it's
Well, the thing is they got rid of that entire bit of software, the viewing platform or whatever, and Comixology's sales, from what I understand, dropped through the floor.
I wonder why.
yeah. So
Totally.
So with C's thing where it's a, did you hear DC Comics was dropped from San Diego Comic-Con?
Yes, I heard that.
Not. The thing is that the comics part of it will still be there. It's just the movie studio bit of it is gone because they've already been acquired by another studio.
No, what's happened is the guy who owns Discovery, who came in and bought Warner Brothers DC,
Yeah, that's what I mean.
cut
So
the exposure down on the floor, down to nothing.
The comic bit of it is going to be there. It's just the rest of it won't. So, but they're erroneously saying that DC Comics isn't going to be there. It's like, no, the comic part will be. It's just not going to be this probably huge ass thing. But right now it's San Diego Comic-Con. So they kind of are leaving some to mystery until they're announcing at the last minute what's happening. So, but no, DC Comics will be there, but it's only the comic part. It's not.
Have you done a lot of San Diego Comic-Con?
I've done it like for the past 5 or 6 years in a row.
Have you? Cool. Yeah.
Yeah, I sell on the floor. I'm actually at small press at N is in Nelly-05 this year. So
Okay.
I'll be there. I'll be on there. So, but I have friends that are really into it, and they've been watching it for a long time. I've been going there since 2009.
Sweet.
Yeah.
I was there from 2000, from the year 2000 to 2003. I was there every year. And if you haven't gone to San Diego Comic-Con, you need to go. You need to go at least once, if only as a spectator, and then try to set up there if you think that convention is right for you, because it is the ultimate. It's like the mecca for comics, I would say, in the country. It's the big show in the country to go, to be at, to attend, to see. The spectacle alone is worth going to see. If you're lucky enough to get a ticket, if you're really lucky enough to get a room out there, because the rooms go in like 15 minutes flat. As soon as they're available, they're just gone.
There will be panels, but no booth. I've been hearing the opposite. See, it's actually like, as I said, the comic part will be there, but they're not going to have this huge sweeping booth like they.
No, they're going to have floor space, from what I understand. It's just
Yeah.
DC Comics won't have anything on the floor. It'll all be the comics related movies, because they're doing what, Black Adam, and they're still supposedly still going to do the Flash movie, even though Ezra Miller's a mess. They're still doing Aquaman, even though Amber Heard is a mess.
I think they might.
They're still doing Black Adam, even though I understand the script is a mess. They've gone back on reshoots on that at least once so far, from what I understand.
I think for Heard's role as Mira, they were talking about, I forgot her name, but she played
Amelia Clark.
Yeah,
Amelia
they were talking about
with Amelia Clark.
They'd have to do some quick reshoots and some cuttings there. C. Michael is in the house. Hey, so did you hear DC Comics has dropped? Yeah, dropped from San Diego Comic-Con. They weren't really dropped. They were just bumped out.
They were, it's like kind of like they're sort of in a different mode now. They're not going to have this huge booth, from what I understand, but it's just going to be like just mostly comic shit.
Well, they're doing all of their announcements at panels. Jim Lee is still going to be there and do a panel. There's still going to be a Batman panel with a bunch of Batman writers there.
Yeah,
talking Batman and how cucked he is around Catwoman, that kind of stuff.
I would say if you guys haven't already, go to the SDCC unofficial blog. You're probably going to get the best news out of there. And there's a Facebook group called SDCC blog or SDCC group. So you might want to check that there too. So I would say personally, it's kind of iffy right now because they're just starting to announce the big news now.
Well, the point in all this is that the Warner Brothers, Discovery, Warner's Plus, or whatever they want to call themselves, have no confidence in comics.
Yeah,
none. And that's raising a big cry, especially in the doom-saying YouTube community. Maybe DC's hitting their last gasp now because they're not going to be in San Diego. It's like they cut out any type of real active participation at these shows a long time ago. Marvel DC used to be at every big show. If it was a 3-day convention in the country, in the continental United States, they had a presence, they had a booth, they had people that were paid specifically to travel the country and promote their stuff. And they cut that out long time ago because they decided it just wasn't worth the money to go around and actually talk to fans, because in their mind, and it has been for a long time, ever since the direct market has sprung up, the fans aren't their customers. That's why you get all the disrespect that you get. That's why you get all the variant covers that you get, is the retailers are their customers. That's their primary, that's their income source. They're the ones who pay their bills. So they're the people that DC and Marvel cater to. That's when they want to cater.
Yeah, it's
to
kind
the
of
market.
weird too because of how they did about it, because comic stores in general have decreased, but at the same time there's other avenues in which they can sell things. And it's kind of funny because Diamond is kind of having a dire straits because aside from Image, DC and Marvel kind of pulled away from them anyway. So
Well, they have other distribution avenues, but the majority of the retailers don't go in that direction. And
Yeah.
I'm hoping next week to actually have a retailer, a long time established retailer, on the show to talk about this.
Yeah,
because it is a concern, especially in the marketplace. It's a problem. But Marvel and DC found different distributors, but Diamond is still distributing Marvel and DC to the retailers.
Yeah.
It's just that the retailers get a much smaller piece of that pie.
Yeah, that's the thing. It's like it's not as big as it used to be because I know DC, I think, has DC Warner kind of has Luna. I think that's their distribution, which is kind of through Penguin, from what I understand. And Marvel went a different route, and I can't remember which one, but there was.
I think if I'm not mistaken, Marvel is with Penguin, and DC is with Luna. Yeah.
Yeah, and then DC's with Luna, and it's all in-house printing and all that other shit. So.
Well, yeah, but that's we're seeing the result of that, and I don't have an article to pull it up on, but Marvel is currently running into a really bad problem with their books that are scheduled to come out in August, as far as getting release dates out, because of a paper shortage. They just can't get the stuff printed fast enough to get it out to the retailers on time. It's not going to happen. Yeah. So there's a huge amount, if not most of Marvel, is going to end up missing August altogether.
Yeah.
And I'm sure DC is not that far behind, because they all get the stuff printed. From what I understand, they get it printed at the same printer. So if one guy's got a paper shortage problem, everybody has a paper shortage problem.
You know, it's kind of funny because, like, when I got my books printed through Amazon, it's hilarious because, like, yeah, there were some issues with the dates, but they've actually stabilized now. Because I got mine printed through KDP.
Mm-hmm.
For some reason, the dates for me are kind of stable. So I think probably for the smaller people, it's not so bad because in comparison with the bigger people that print a lot more, it's probably that way. And I mean, I've got kind of crap for doing it. Like, you should go to a smaller printer. I'm like, well, you know, no offense to smaller printers, but, you know, Amazon does have the name and the bigness. But at the same time, if there's any customer service issue, it can be solved pretty quickly. Yeah. Now, I had times where I've had to go back and forth, and have I complained it? I complained about it on JD's show. But eventually I find a solution that satisfies me somehow. You might not get that with a smaller printer because they may not have the resources at Amazon, but I also view it as like, well, okay, if I buy these books and ship them to another place, that's easier for me. Like when you did the retailer tier through me on Kickstarter, you know, A.E. D'Angelini, he has a shop called Heidi Ho, and he was one of my backers, and he did the retailer. I was able to ship those to him direct. No, I didn't have to worry about packing or anything. And if there were any issues, then that would have been handled through Amazon. But I mean, that's the thing. It's like, I find Amazon a good medium. And they said, well, you know, you have more of a cost to print per book. I said, well, I don't need to pay for storage now, do I? That's the thing. It's like, people don't understand, like, buying a storage unit or getting a storage unit, it can be an additional cost.
Mm-hmm. Sure. And now, especially, you have to watch the overhead. So and it's easy. That's part of the pluses, I guess, with dealing with a higher per unit cost and dealing with a print-on-demand printer, is that you can call them up and say, hey, I need another 100 copies.
Yeah, I mean that's the
And
thing. It's
there
like
they are. Yeah.
it's a trade-off. Like, do I wait for time for probably shipping from another country, which there are obviously delays if you're literally shipping stuff,
Right.
compared to air delivery, or do I do it all domestically to, okay, well, it's more per cost per book, but I don't have the space to hold 3 pallets of books, and I really don't want to go and get a storage unit, which is potentially maybe $100 a month.
Yeah. I got it. Well, no, it's a lot more than that anymore,
Well, I
depending
mean-
upon the size of the unit that you get.
Yeah.
Yeah, but I'm just saying in general.
One thing I really regret about us not doing that deal that was part of the Long Shots campaign and the Fellowship of the Indies is that we mass printed all of these. We printed 3,000 copies of this book at once, of all 9 titles at once. And they're the prettiest books I've ever been associated with, and they were ready to keep going. But if you can mass print, great. But now I'm stuck with 2,700 copies of each of these titles sitting in my garage. So
Yeah.
there's a drawback on all of that. Like you said,
Yeah.
you don't have to pay for a storage unit. And
Yeah, it's
Oh,
just like a cost benefit thing, really.
Yeah.
I mean, what does it work well with you for your business? Like for me, ordering like 100 or 40 or 50 at a time throughout the year, that
Mhm.
works for me. But it was kind of funny because, like, at the cons that I've been to, they were literally throwing money at me because they really liked the books that I brought.
yeah.
Cluster buy.
hmm
So that's
Well, it
really-
happens when you get a larger number of different titles that you can lay out on a table. You have some people go through that love your book that'll pick up, just go right down the line. I'll take
Yeah.
this, and this. Give me that. Yeah. It's always great to be able to offer a package deal.
Yeah. I mean, for right now, I have to reformat another book, and I just got to sit down and do it. But I'll do it after I'm done when I come back from family time. Get that taken care of. It's a book that doesn't sell that much. It's Murder of Crows, so I have to like get that taken care of and everything. But it's been pretty good. Like overall, everything has been going swimmingly with the Kickstarter. As I said, everybody's been getting their books. Everybody's been happy. Like Niall and Terry posted up their stuff on there, so they're really happy with their books and everything on that way too.
Cool. And you sent me a link earlier for your studio site.
Yeah, that's like the store. These are the pre-orders you can do right now for Triggered and all that. So if you did not back the Kickstarter, this is all the goods from the Kickstarter that you can pre-order right now.
Cool.
Since I'm just about done with the Kickstarter fulfillment, I mean, as I said, I just got to wait for the pins and we're good. And I don't have very many of those orders to fulfill, but everything else has just been fulfilled. So it's safe to order. So if you got the patches and the stickers and the purse charm and the paperbacks, I mean, I can fulfill those. I do not have the hardbacks or the pins as of yet.
Those are coming.
Yeah, they're coming. They're coming, and
Right.
they're pretty good. So I'm very happy about that. So, ooh,
And you can find those over at Horatora Studios.
yeah,
.square.site.
yes. Yeah, so basically I put in the manufacturer's images of the patches, and they are true to life, as you can tell.
Mhm.
Like, they're really well done. Alchemy Merch did a great job with this.
Yeah.
Yeah, they're patches. Patches are kind of $20. Let's see, and stickers are $5 a piece, I think, off the top of my head. Yeah. So we have that, but that's the Tamabichi pins that are coming up, and the expressions are glow in the dark. So
I'm
that's
gonna. Is it all right if I put that that site in the chat?
go ahead, do it all you want, man. Yeah, as I said, the hardcover and the pins I have not gotten yet, but they should be coming this Friday. But again, I'll be doing family stuff, but I should be back on the 6th or 7th. So
Let's see how this sits. Here we go. This is the Horatora site. That'll take you right over to this page that we're viewing right now.
yeah,
I'm
so they're
putting it in the chat as we speak.
Oh, thank you. Yeah, so just understand there'll be a bit of a delay, like for about a week or so. So when I get back, I'm going to vet the merchandise and prepare it, and then go from there and fulfill what's right. There aren't that many orders left of the hardcover. I think you've got the hardcover. That's why I haven't sent yours yet.
Me, I think I got the soft cover. I'm not sure
Actually, let me double check. I think you
because
did.
the other ones that I got from you were soft covers.
Let me see.
I keep them all on a shelf behind that sheet, along with probably, I don't know, 5,000 to 6,000 other graphic novels.
Let's see, because I thought
I have a library, Mitch.
I
We
do
just-
too. Don't we all?
Oh wait, yours has been shipped. Never mind, because you sent me that email. Because I use Pirate Ship, you guys. So what's nice about Pirate Ship is that
It's
I
on the way.
ask people for their email and phone number,
Yep.
so that I can just copy and paste it, and you can go and get that nice little tracking number, so you know when you get your shit.
I've got a canning cellar over here underneath our stairs coming down to the basement that I've turned into our paperback book room. That's where we keep all the paperbacks, all the VHS tapes, the CDs, the DVDs.
Hold on, let me see something.
That's all of my stuff. All of the wife's stuff's up on the second story. So.
Okay.
All my
I'll sketch
VHSs
this-
are in the closet outside.
hiding
That's the only place I
in
can
the
put 'em.
closet. Right
Yeah, it's
around
the
the
only
corner
place I can
there,
put 'em.
I've got every episode of Dark Shadows on tape.
Man.
So
Every episode.
So out of curiosity, Randy, so how long is it going to take for your shit to get to you? I'm just curious.
From the West Coast, probably 3-4 days, depending upon how they shipped it. If they shipped it media mail, it might take up to a week.
Actually, I was going to say, like, use that, like, really cool, like, tracking number, because I'm kind of curious.
I'll look for it. Let me see here. I think you sent that to me in a PM through Facebook, right?
No, it was email.
No. You sent it to me in an email. Yeah.
Yeah, the thing is, what's great about Pirate Ship, it'll automatically generate the email and send it to you.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah.
And I
That's
have
what
that
people-
starred. So give me just a second here to find it.
Yeah, so guys, if you want to automate your Kickstarter stuff, get Pirate Ship if you're in the United States, because that will make your fucking life easier.
Yeah, Horatora, I sent your shit. I sent you your shit. What's the name of it? It's in the subject line. Status shipment received, package acceptance pending. Out of Glendale, California. No, let's see here. Wednesday, the 6th of July is when I'm expecting delivery by.
Yes.
That's also New Comic Day. So
By
technically,
9 p.m.
give me a
Yeah.
comic.
I said by 9 p.m. I don't know how they shipped it here. If they shipped it regular United States Postal Service, USPS Packing Plus. Let's check that here. Oh, it's got delivery terms here. Text and accepted. Change delivery instructions. No. Shipping received. Package acceptance pending. Yes, it's USPS. So yeah, it's on a slow boat across country.
Mm-hmm. Generally, it'll go like quicker than usual, but I usually do media mail. I mean, I suggest to people do media mail. They'll treat it as if you're just shipping a book. It'll save you a lot in cost.
It's probably it's probably coming across on mule train.
Yeah, which
Yeah.
isn't that bad. I mean, it's like it's
6th of July should be here.
yeah. I mean, that's good. So yeah, guys. Yeah. So Randy will probably like showcase that shit on the 6th.
Hey, Randy, Glenn says it's 3:19 a.m. here. That time again. Yes,
Yeah,
it
Glenn,
is.
do you fucking
Glenn
like?
says hi, everyone. Glenn, you want me to send you a link? We only have about another 40 minutes left in the program, but you're welcome to come in. Anybody betting that Scott Rosema or Stone Abdullah? Where are the other people? I had a few other people that I had sent links out to. They did not make it. Even C. Michael didn't show up for this episode of ZimmCast. He promises to be back next week.
He's in the comments.
He's in the comments. Yeah, he's in the chat. Apparently, he couldn't get the what is it? The hamster wheel to spin fast enough to power his computer.
Oh damn.
So here's Glenn yelling for Nita. Nita. Nita says, "Hey, Glenn." He says, "No, I don't think I'll come in. Thanks. Okay. All right, Glenn. Glenn will be with us. At least he should be with us this Sunday for another episode of Sunday Funnies. So we'll see how that goes. Got a couple people promised for that episode as well. But next week, yes, we should have a retailer on. We might have a few other friends on that we don't normally have on. We'll see how it goes. Shall we go on to other news? I don't know if you've been following anybody's. What sites do you follow on YouTube? Mitch, do you follow any at all? Any of the commentary sites?
Yeah, I follow. Here, I can just pop it up. I follow over 300 channels. So
You do?
yeah.
Wow. Are they all comic sites?
Not all of them. Not all of them. Some are like true crime, comedy, political stuff.
You follow anybody at comedian sites or what? Channels?
Yeah. Follow Dan Cummins' site. His channel. I don't know if you know of him. His channel has a lot of like true crime and paranormal. He had a straight comedy show called "Is We Dumb" that they canceled, primarily just for time. It was cutting into his family time, so he stopped it. But obviously Ragin 2, Andy Smith.
Yeah,
I follow. Let's see who else.
Do you do comic kayfabe, perch, critical thinking?
Critical thinking, yes, I do that. Clownfish, but that's more of just pop culture in general.
Every time I turn on that channel, I have to turn the volume down real fast, or I wake the wife up with their silly opening song that comes out blaring like at least 15 levels higher than their actual speaking.
Yeah, that da 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 da.
Yeah, and then I'm sorry, but the girl there on Clownfish sometimes drives me crazy.
Oh, Geeky Sparkles.
Geeky Sparkles, yes. And it's not anything that she says because she's got some very valuable and poignant opinions. It's that voice.
Yeah.
But
that's the same way I was for
what's his name? Neon Keon?
Yeah.
It's just like, hey, here's with Geeky Sparkle. Sorry, I really like their book though. Their comic looks awesome.
I've never read it.
I haven't either, but it looks very pretty, and I like the way it looks. I almost bought into their last campaign just to get the book and see how it reads.
You also
I probably will in their next campaign. So go ahead. Say who?
Eric July, Young Ripa.
Okay. Fourth age.
No, I don't think so.
Do you follow kayfabe at all? Comic book kayfabe?
I listen to their podcast.
That's amazing. They have an actual podcast. Maybe I'll tune into that because I stopped watching their program. I had to stop watching it because I wasn't getting any work done. Every time they pulled out something they were ogling over, I had to stop what I was doing in order to look at the screen to look at the stuff that they were looking at. Because half of the stuff that they look through is stuff that I read when I was a kid.
Oh yeah, they have a lot of great stuff on there.
Oh, they do some great, super stuff.
Ed Pisker.
Pisker.
And the other, I forgot the other guy's name.
I got to admit, I bought the guy's book and I wasn't very happy with it, but that's my personal taste.
Which one?
The Red Room.
Oh, yeah.
I bought like 3 or 4 of those. It's definitely an acquired taste.
Well,
it's different.
You can only look, but it's like fucked up.
Yeah.
Like Crossed is good, but there's only so much of people being horribly awful to each other that you can deal with. It's sort of like Walking Dead. Like I can read some of it at a time, but I need to stop in between because it's just so fucking bleak.
It reminded me a lot of a Saw movie.
Yeah, it's just like Crossed it's kind of like Red Room is very similar to Crossed in a way.
Okay.
In terms of intensity. Like Crossed is about a disease. Like it basically, if you're infected, you get a cross like right here, and you just turn a complete different person than what you used to be. And you could be a very nice, sweet person, then you turn into a bloodthirsty, murdering, child sodomizing rapist in that fucking book. I mean, it just it's not an easy book to read. It's always got a fucked up ending. Mm-hmm. And the thing with Red Room is that it is very hard to read. It's very good, but it's hard to read. I agree with you on that. It's just like you can only read a little at a time. It's very intense.
Glenn says he'll be there for Sunday Funnies, and he said, any idea why DC dropped out of SDCC? They haven't dropped out. They were just relegated to panels.
Yeah, I think they might have some floor space, but it's like that's what I've been hearing on the news, on the rounds, according to SDCC. It's like SDCC is kind of weird. I mean, I've been going there as a vendor like 5 or 6 years, I think, off the top of my head. And the reason being is that actually no 7, because my first book I sold is 2015. So there you go. But SDCC, it's interesting. You get the best news from the unofficial blog. That seems to be the best one. Number 2, they're kind of a little weird when they do things. Like I have 2 panels, but I can't announce them. because they want to officially announce them first.
Mm-hmm.
So even though I know I've got a couple panels and I want to announce them, I can't announce them until they officially say so.
Sure.
So unfortunately, the news that you're hearing, it's like technically DC didn't drop out. They just, the movie part of it got taken out.
Well, more than likely what happened, especially with SDCC, you have to get your space in advance. Well in advance, and to try to grow more space now is probably out of the question because they are very limited for space. Everybody gets a certain amount of regulated space, and Zaslav or whoever the head guy at Discovery came in and said, no, we don't need that space for the funny books. We need that space for the movies. So the funny books aren't going to be on the floor. They're going to be out. They'll still do their panels. They'll still announce new products, which they normally do over at San Diego. They'll still have their panels for that, but there just won't be a presence for DC Comics on the floor. There'll be a presence for DC. Warner Brothers and their movies will be on the floor, just not the comics.
I heard the opposite. I heard like the studios dropped out, but the comics will be there.
Well, I heard the studios bumped the comics out on the floor. The comics are in the panels, and the movie previews and stuff are still on the floor. That's what I heard, and I don't know how reliable it is. I think it was a Perch video that I watched, and he went through and said what was going on. So
I'd say the most reliable news, I'd get it through the SDCC unofficial blog. They've always been consistently good.
I think Randy froze.
Oh, I guess Randy did freeze. Oop. Give him a chance to pause it for a minute. But yeah, it's been kind of weird because, as I said, there's a lot of speculation still. It's still early yet for SDCC, even though it's like they've got it's coming to the head with that. But you get what I mean, man. It's like, it's kind of weird because I don't think you're not going to know until you know, kind of thing. And again, it's not trying to be like weird or contrarian. It's just like, from what I understand from friends that kind of been there a lot longer than I have, they kind of have more access to the news than I do. And they tell me, and they're usually pretty spot on. So it's like, I don't think DC necessarily won't have it. I just heard that the movie part of it or the movie studios are kind of gone because they're not going to be wanting to be affiliated too much with the comics bit of it. I mean, they may advertise their movies still, but you get what I mean.
Oh, they're definitely going to do that because basically all the stuff that people seem to care about San Diego is movies. Like no one really talks about the comic book news that comes out of San Diego. Like I don't even know who won the Eisners in the past 10 years. They used to be like one of the things I would follow. Yeah.
So that's all I got to say about that. So hopefully Randy can get back on. Didn't he say that there was an issue? I know that some of the people in the Michigan area were kind of like talking about how like there's been some issue with power. And I think like Steve Michael was talking about issue with power too, Nita as well.
I haven't heard anything, but I wouldn't be surprised.
Yeah.
All the other stuff is going, here he comes.
There he is.
Still there? Hey there.
Yeah, no, you're here. We were chatting about SDCC. As I said, I would say the best news to get and the most direct news is SDCC unofficial blog. They're actually really cool there. I know about them. I know them. So they've been really cool people.
For SDCC news, yeah. And I lost the other links, but the reason I was asking Mitch what channels you watch, and you ever watch John De La Rosa, I think it's called.
No.
He had a very interesting.
To be honest, I forgot what I followed because I've been kind of staying out of the
drama.
A lot of the because it just gets after a while just all the depressing shit just goes on and on. I just like occasionally I just want to laugh and talk about serial killers. So that's mainly what I've been watching.
There we go. Glenn says, I watch Piss Score Rug K-Channel. These guys are interesting. I also like to listen to comic tropes. Anyway.
Knocking shit off, and I love you. Sorry.
The guy from comic tropes is a little, how do I say it nicely? Inaccurate, I guess, would be the word.
Yeah.
At times, some of his history is a little bent. But I have that problem curse, just like Glenn we've been through the majority of this stuff. We lived it, we breathed it when we were kids. We know all about it. We absorb.
Oh, he froze again.
Oh, God damn it. Is it still? I thought it was summer. How the fuck did he get to freeze?
It's the stupid cable company. That's what it is. They keep playing with their internet every time we're streaming. And it seems like anytime that I'm on the air, they go through and they screw with and it's a net loss. And it's funny too, because I have a direct line right from the outside into my computer here. So there shouldn't be an interruption, and it's all on their end. Xfinity, you suck. Xfinity, and I'll probably grind again now because I said that. The Xfinity, your internet has really been bad the last couple of weeks, and you need to get it straightened out because you're pissing me off.
Mm-hmm.
But anyway,
or is it like a raging pissed off, dude?
Yeah. I've caught comic tropes a couple of times, given a kind of demented version of history, and a lot of these folks, once they do their video, there's no talking to them about what they did right or what they did wrong. Well, they want to hear what they did right. They don't want to hear what they had wrong. And it's like, dude, that's not the way that worked at all. That is not the way that history ran. So some of his stuff is okay, but it's like watching Kevin Smith did a documentary series that ran on AMC about comic history. And I'm sitting there looking at that going,
I remember that.
Where did you pull up? Half of this information is wrong. Just wrong. What do and it was, for example, he credited Stan Lee with a lot of stuff that Stan had no control over. And it's like, dude, what, you just want to scream at the TV after a while and go, that's not how it works. That's not that. What's that lady say? That's not how it works. That's not how any of this worked.
Was that the history of comic or history of superheroes or something?
Yeah, something
like
that.
Yeah, that was.
And I'm like just almost
god-awful.
Screaming at he had all sorts of guests on. Could have been a beautiful thing, and it needed to be. Because comics history is fascinating once you get into it, especially you do a little bit of the behind the scenes. You look at how Marvel was working and what Martin was doing and how Stan was a mess and not really a mess, but Stan was under Martin's boot for most of the time, and the trouble that they had dealing with the spiral racks, the spaces that were some companies were only allowed so much space for so much. Gets really fascinating. You get into stuff like what is it, All Negro Comics, for example, and how their first issue was phenomenal and sold a bunch because they sold a bunch of them in the black areas, where the population was a book that was made by black creators for black readers, and they couldn't get a second issue out because they couldn't secure the newsprint. They wouldn't allow it. Let alone the distribution. There's a great story there, and I don't mean great, but there's a big story there about how the prejudice worked back then, even though the comics are probably one of the largest minority run industries ever, as far as the entertainment mecca goes, and yet they still were, certain minorities were slammed, and you had all of these stereotypes that sprung. Well, that's the way comics and cartoons worked anyway. Back in that day, they reached back to the lowest common denominator. So you had every racial stereotype out there that you could imagine, and in an exaggerated form.
I don't see it, but it must be on my other bookcase over there. But I have a DVD copy of History Channel back around 2003, 2004, did the history of superheroes.
Okay, yeah.
That I thought was really good because they went over, the early days, Superman, that they talked about Batman, they had, of course, the Seduction of the Innocent was in there, but they reached all the way over to like Spawn, Sandman,
sure,
to the modern era.
So-called modern era. It's not that modern anymore, is it?
Yeah. No, it's about 20 years off.
Things move and change. Yeah. Things evolve and change so much.
They had to condense a lot because it was like an hour-long TV special, because it was on history.
Just 1 hour? Yeah, they would really have to condense that down.
Yeah, but it was pretty interesting.
Well, I've been working on a comic about the history of comics. I'm on page 40 right now. I just barely got up to Wonder Woman.
Wow.
So I haven't even gotten up to the main, the big explosion of superheroes during World War II. 40 pages in. But
wow.
It's really, like I said, the history is super fascinating because there's so many things that have happened. There's so many points in comic history that everything could have just gone wrong or gone right, and we would have had an entirely different industry. That it's really a fascinating subject to me, and that's why guys who do a lot of these History Channel stuff, some of it's really cool. I've seen some videos where they talk about different books' histories, that they have the book right there. They show you the panel. They say this happened here, then this happened, then this happened, then this. It's great, fantastic. But you get somebody in there who doesn't quite know their history or thinks that they know the history that they don't know or don't understand, and it just turns into a polluted mess. Other sites like Fourth Age, who I really enjoy, that's done by RJ. I think the person's name is. He's got a crowd-funded book, and he's got an extensive background in I believe it's psychology, or he knows fiction, he knows heroic fiction, and he sets down and he uses examples about what's going wrong and what this means, and how the industry has, the so-called mainstream industry, because I don't agree with that term 100% either, because ever since direct market sprung up, nobody's mainstream, because we're in such a niche market, and we have been for the last 30 years, that it's troubling. But he goes through and talks about where superheroes are going wrong with the bigger companies and why they're doing this, and all of the psychology behind it, about how they're deconstructing the hero in the wrong direction and that kind of thing.
Yeah.
And that there's so much more coming out there now through crowdfunding, because a lot of the crowdfunding guys, especially the guys who are doing superheroes and crowdfunding, are digging back to the 90s and doing really great not historic, but heroic fiction, or they're back doing the exaggerated female features books like Image did.
Yeah.
Or the exaggerated anatomy in general, because it wasn't just the women that were over exaggerated; the guys were over exaggerated too. There was a lot of beefcake in those books. There was a whole period back there in the 70s and 80s. Every Marvel male character had to show their chest.
Oh yeah.
You look at Luke Cage or Falcon, or a lot of these characters were designed with just a wide open, neckline pretty much going down to their navel so that they could show their abs.
Yeah, in the 90s, I remember a lot of guys were drawn with 9-pack instead of 6-pack.
Yeah.
Well, ones like Pitt fucking had that whole and was he a Wolverine kind of thing or something like that?
He was over exaggerated on purpose to be monstrous, I think.
Yeah, because Dale Keown, who created it, cut his teeth on the Hulk.
Yeah.
Oh, okay. Because sometimes I kind of had a feeling like Pitt. I mean, I don't want to be disrespectful. It's just that sometimes I'm like, because of the claws and shit, you kind of wondered.
This is an opinion program, Christy. You can be
what I mean
is opinionated as you'd like.
Well, I mean, because Wolverine was a big fucking deal back then. I mean, it still is, but you get what I mean. People were fucking wanking off to Wolverine. Mm-hmm. So I kind of wonder if he was kind of a Wolverine inspired character. Now I wouldn't say Max, because Max had one claw on each thing. That was a little different.
Yeah. Oh, Glenn. I've got Glenn mentions that he's got the Steranko volumes of the early 70s. Mm-hmm. Great reading. Yes.
Anything he touched is amazing.
Oh, Steranko, yes.
Yeah.
And if you ever get to see Steranko at a convention, he's amazing.
Oh yeah.
He's such a showman. It's great. Glenn, I've got those too. They just don't have covers on them, and they're all beaten up. They're all beaten up and read and reread and reread, because Steranko decided that he wasn't just going to do a history of comics. He was going to do a detailed history of comics. He went through and interviewed a lot of these guys a lot of whom aren't around anymore. And it's really a shame that you really have to dig to get a lot of the documentation, a lot of the big interviews. You don't have very many books. I just picked up one last week that has a lot of Gil Kane interviews in it. That I hadn't seen before. Some of them were out of Comics Journal that I still have here, but it's just amazing that how much history is being slighted and how much history is being buried as far as our art form goes. And the only way, in my opinion, to raise respectability for the art form is to bring that history out and to put it in front of everybody and go, yes, this is what happened. Yes, in the context of what you're seeing, we were horribly stereotyped in the day, and all of these cultures got tramped on. Every last, the entire Western motif. Yes, the natives were abused and stereotypically used, just like every Asian, every black character, every ethnic character in general that went through was stripped down to a basic, over characterized stereotype. That yes, we should be embarrassed about, but at the same time, we should not be hiding from it either. We should be able to point at it and grow from it and understand it and know that we've become a better culture from what that was. And
it's
a
cliche
because we've gotten
now.
more and yes, it is, and it very much.
Well,
so.
I mean,
yeah.
It's a cliche now to say, but it's true that those who ignore history are doomed to repeat it.
Mm-hmm.
Because that's why we learn history, so we don't do it again.
Glenn
so
laughs at me.
Mistakes.
Exactly. Glenn laughs at me and says his have covers on them. I got copies of each one wrapped in plastic. Glenn. That it's just that the work here that Jim did, that Steranko did, is so detailed and so wonderful that I go back and I refer to him constantly. I probably read those volumes about once a year. And there's still more material that you pull from it. I feel the same way about Eisner's sequential and comics and sequential art book. That anybody who does comic art, it's especially sequential art, especially long form, really needs to sit there and have that and read it as often as they possibly can. It's written in a high textbook IQ fashion, and it treats it as almost a college subject, but it's so important to understand because Eisner was a workhorse and did so much stuff during his lifetime. And a lot of that stuff, especially during the Spirit days, was 7 pages a week over and over and over again. And when he got back from the war, a lot of that was his stuff with maybe one or two assistants working underneath him. But the majority of that work was his because he was constantly working.
Quick question.
And it's amazing to see his theories as far as sequential art goes. Sorry, Christie, go ahead.
No, it's okay. I have a quick question because I have an old Eisner book. I got to look at it again. But he was Jewish, right?
Yes.
Okay. No,
he was of Jewish descent. Yeah. He wasn't a Zionist or a practice. He did a lot of his graphic novels in his later years was about his upbringing and his religion.
Avenue.
No, the book that I had, and I keep forgetting to bring it out here because we end up talking about Eisner. The reason why I asked was that a lot of his stories, the one that I have of urban stories, the ones that are like they're in the Jewish neighborhoods and stuff. So I was assuming that he probably was observing or remembering people in his neighborhood and what they did and stories from that. And one guy's wearing a yarmulke, so it's like, yeah, okay, he's Jewish.
Oh, yeah. Absolutely.
I mean, it's not like I said other people can't draw other people in different neighborhoods, but a lot of it had the thing of stuff he was growing up with.
Well, it's like that old writing adage, you draw what you know.
Yeah.
Or you write what you know. And that's what he did. He wrote about his life, his history, the last book that he did is a book about the inner workings of the Jewish religion and the Zion papers. I haven't sat down and read it yet. I just got it about probably a month or two before I went under. I got it, but it's a very obscure work, and it's printed on the shabbiest newsprint that you could ever imagine. But it's the last graphic novel that he did.
Yeah,
and it's the Zion papers or something like that.
Is that the one about the prodigals of the elders of Zion?
Yes, that's what it is. Yeah,
that was a famous anti-Semitic hoax back in pre-Nazi Europe. It was like the turn of the century, I think, is when the book that he's talking about came out.
Well, the book come out about, I think, a year, maybe, or right after he passed. I'm not.
Yeah,
sure.
I mean the book that he's writing about in the comic, the original.
Right.
Yeah, it's I've read it. It's pretty bad. Not the Eisner book, the Prodigals. I've
It's
read.
pretty
It's
damning.
pretty. Yeah, it will make Hitler blush.
Mm-hmm.
It's actually kind of funny because like there was one that my friend showed it to me. He's black, by the way. So, I mean, I'm not saying that this makes it okay, but he actually found the one by Patler, one of the American Nazi Party guys. And it was a white man. And I swear to God, that must have been like a lesson in like plagiarism. Because yes, obviously, white man, they basically took a Superman clone comic and it looks like they whited out whatever symbol that the superhero had and put a swastika on it.
They probably did. Yeah,
they probably did. And they whited out the head of the robot and put a Jewish person there, that type of shit. Mm-hmm. And I was sitting there and it was just like my friends and I, we were laughing at it, not because we agreed with the subject matter, but this is just ridiculously stupid, right?
Mm-hmm.
Sounds like a satire of an anti-Semitic book.
It gets better because like when we read on the history about it, it was amazing because it was like one of the guys that published it only had one issue. And one of the guys that published it that was of the American Nazi Party, I forgot what it was. He actually found out he was of Jewish descent, so he blew his head off. And I was like, damn. I said, well, he must have, he kept straight to his ideals. And we're like, Jesus, it just had this whole long dramatic thing about how they had to publish this thing. And it was just, it's kind of like, Mel Brooks, The Producers. Mm-hmm. It was kind of that level of farcical weirdness on that. And then on top of it, to end it all, George Lincoln Rockwell, he was assassinated by Patler. So it's like, okay, that kind of was this whole weird sort of like Caesarean parody type thing, but kind of like with the producer's flair of Mel Brooks, how they made like the worst fucking thing ever. And then they said, yeah, we'll just get it as a tax write-off and we'll make money off of it.
Well, unlike the producers, they probably did it as a propaganda tool. The producers were intentionally trying to lose money.
Yeah, no, I mean, that's obviously it. I'm just saying like the subject matter was just fucking weird. Yeah. But it's like, but yeah, no. It was obviously a propaganda tool, but just the amount of dramatics with it and just like the people involved. And it was just this fucking like really over dramatic, over the top drama that occurred from everything. It was just like, wow, Jesus Christ.
There was a lot. There's been a lot of that stuff out over the years because folks realize that comics are comics can be used as an educational and propaganda tool.
Yeah, but as I said, I mean, I'm not trying to belittle that type of level. It's just like we were just reading it, like, what the fuck is this? Because we're coming from a modern day where I think this was published in the 50s or 60s. So, like, I'm coming from like 2022 perspective. I'm like, what the fuck is this shit?
Probably right as the Klan was rolling or just getting, rolling along or getting to a high point.
Yeah, I'm surprised it came out at that time because that was after World War II. And
I'm not after World War II. That's when a lot of the racism really started rearing its head.
Yeah, we were like sitting there and we were like looking at it like we were going like, Rockwell like was a few years away from his fucking pension. Like, why would he just went to Germany and he just finished World War II fighting the Nazis and now he's a Nazi? That made no sense. We just thought it was weird, that whole thing. I'm not saying that anti-Semitism isn't a thing in the United States. It's just, if you get what I mean, it was just kind of like, okay, you just came back from Germany fighting these very people. Now okay, don't know, whatever. That the logic there is weird,
Yeah,
no
well,
accounting
no
accounting for
system
education.
Anyway.
Kind of a Anyway, hey folks, thanks again for stopping by. This has been the ZimmCast for the 29th of June. So make sure you stop by next month and watch our program. We are part of the Ragin 2 network, and we have all sorts of shows, a wide variety of shows. In fact, I have a bumper here that we can play real quick about the most of the different shows that we have on. It goes something like this. That's got a long lead out. Christie, thanks so much for being with us today. Tell folks how they can find you.
You can find me on horrortourstudios.com or Linktree at Horror Tour Studios, or you can go and pre-order some of the Kickstarter stuff and other books you can get on the Square Up site that you can look at right there.
And we have that still in the chat. If you need that link, go over there and get it there.
Mhm.
Mitch, tell
Yes,
folks
sir.
how they can find you.
Well, you can find me at Linktree/Celtic Cross Studios, where you can find my website and online comics and a few other fun places like
Do you have
social
any-
media. And,
Do you have any conventions scheduled coming up?
no, not for the foreseeable future. Although it's a year off, but SC Comic Con 2023. I'm definitely going to be there because that's my hometown convention. So
South Carolina Comic Con?
Yep.
SCCC.
here in Greenville. Yeah.
Christy, you got any shows coming up?
I have San Diego Comic Con coming up.
That's August, right?
No, that's actually next month. It's
Next month. That next month would be July.
Yeah, that would be July. Small press, N is in Nelly 05. So, and I'll have a couple of panels, but I can't announce them as of yet because
They don't want you to. Yeah.
They don't want to. I think it's because of room assignments and they need to finalize the schedule. So until they say so, I can't say so. So I'm
Exactly.
sorry, guys. I wish I could give you more news. But if you go on horrortourstudios.com appearances, you will be able to find what else is going there. I just, as I said, I apologize. I wish I could put in more, but I can't at this moment. But I at least will be at N05, and I will also be, so I'll be over there. So you can guys say hi or whatever. And if you guys are going to be at San Diego Comic Con, you've contributed to my Kickstarter, I will definitely give you the stuff there.
Sweet. And you can find me here in at the really cool Comic Con on August 6th and 7th. That's my next convention that I have planned, and then Grand Rapids Con, but that's not until November. So we got quite a few months before we talk about that. Or anywhere else, anybody wants to invite me to a show, just let me know. I am back to, in general, good health. So
Same here.
want to do shows again. Yeah.
Yeah. Invite me out to the show, guys. I'm fun, and I'm not an asshole. So.
And if you want to read one of my works over on Amazon, if you go over, you can put my name in there and it'll pop up, or you can put War of the Worlds Infestation over there. It's a paperback collection by Caliber Press about a modern updating of the War of the Worlds novel. They start invading again 100 years later, and they've licked their bacterial problem. So it's a real fun book that I did a long time ago with artwork by the German artist by the name of Horace. And that's still available over on Amazon, just like Christie's material, right?
Really, pretty much, it's gross and disgusting. Yes.
And hey, everybody, again, we want to thank you for swinging by. Glenn says, you're finishing. What will I do now? Arg. Well, you can go over and find some Perch video or some Thinking Critical, or go to the, most of all, go to the Raging 2 archives over on YouTube. Make sure you've subscribed and hit that bell for notifications. Everything that we broadcast, well, almost everything. I think there might be one or two episodes that were weren't up there. Maybe, I don't know. They might be there now with a few slight little edits that YouTube was complaining about. Are over there at the Ragin 2, RAGIN with the number 2 over on YouTube. Make sure you go over there and like and subscribe. Make sure also, if you do have a campaign that you're fulfilling and you need those Gemini mailers, because that's the safest way to mail out your stuff, and in order to get it there to your destination safely and as secure as possible. If you go over to GeminiComicSupply.com and order those Gemini mailers, and they make all sorts of different Gemini mailers over there for different packages. They have boxes, they have comics. You can fit 9 comics or 20 comics in. And on your way out the door, use that coupon code RAGIN2, RAGIN, and the number 2. They'll knock $5 off your order just for using that code. Or not $5, I should say 5%. They'll knock 5% off your order. So order a lot. take advantage of that percentage discount. We hope that you do. We'll hope to see you back here. I'll be back here on Sunday morning, Sunday at 9 a.m. Eastern Standard Times for the Sunday Funnies. We hope to see you then. Sunday Funnies, where we try to put the fun back in funny books and talk positively about the passion that we love. Glenn Fleming should be there. We should have one or two other people scheduled to come in. I need to check my notes to see what. Make sure you come back here next Wednesday as well for the next episode of the ZimmCast. Plus, Mitch and I are usually on Dispatches from Outside the Box. That's on Tuesday nights at 9 p.m. That's run by C. Michael Lanning, who was supposed to be here today and didn't quite make that. So if you were betting on C. Michael, which I don't know if anybody was or not. No, I don't see him on the list. So maybe not. Scott, anybody betting on Scott Rosema lost today. And hopefully Stone will be back sometime real soon. Stone, come back. All is forgiven. So
we miss you.
We miss you, Stone. On our way out the door, we want to remind you of the immortal words of the Marvel man himself, Mr. Stan Lee, when asked if digital comics could replace regular comic books. He said, "Comics are like boobs. They look great on a computer, but I'd rather hold one in my hand."
He is correct.
He is correct. So until next time, everybody, take care. We'll see you soon. We wish you the best. And this has been the ZimmCast. We are going out with a few videos. We have a couple of bumpers that we've promised to run. Dojo Kun, I was hoping we could get on the air today to talk about the projectile reptile, but we do have this bumper instead. We're going to run a couple of bumpers and are going out. And we want to thank everybody for being here. Take care, everyone. Any last words from anybody?
Last words.
The last words. Here we go.
Infamous gunslinger Desmond Gibbons, better known across the Wild West as the Cactus Kid, comes to the sleepy town of Clarkson. Trouble finds him in the unlikeliest of sources, the sheriff. After their conflict, the Cactus Kid finds himself inexplicably wearing the badge of a lawman. Later, while on the trail of a serial killer, he and his deputy run afoul of a powerful druid, and the events that lead to the Cactus Kid's transformation into the hulking, four-armed projectile reptile are even more than the druid bargained for. From the Wild West to current-day Los Angeles, where he meets superheroes Black Eagle and Red Hawk, and forms an uneasy alliance with the stunning but deadly Kitty Hawk. Join the projectile reptile on a journey of gunslinging druidic magic, superheroes, and artifacts. Projectile Reptile from Dojo Kun Comics, only on Indiegogo. Are you ready for the truly Wild West?
And who's your favorite Marvel Comics hero? Mine is Superman. Remember the motto? With great power comes great responsibility.
Now on Sunday mornings, longtime independent comics creator Randy Zimmerman brings to you a podcast that talks about the lighter and more whimsical side of comics, the fun side of comics. That's right. Sunday Funnies is back Sunday morning, 9 a.m. on the Raging 2 YouTube channel and on certain Facebook pages. Check it out, won't you? It's special guests, great talk, and a lot of fun as we work to put the fun back in funny books. See you there.
Hey, to page your dues, Jack? Yes, sir, the check is in the mail.
Where do they teach you to talk like this? In some Panama City sailor want a hump bar? Or is this getaway day and your last shot at his whiskey? Sell crazy someplace else. We're all stocked up here.
Do you draw the Flintstones naked? There's a market for that.